It's a great pleasure to have Dr. R C Sharma here. As I just now tell you, tonight he's flying to Fiji for a while, and so we are very lucky to have him. He's an expert on MOOCs and open education resources, which to me is very critical in all the future educational elements. Uh, we will make sure that the session is over at 3:30. We had planned for 2 to 3:30. We'll start a little later. But by now you've met each other and therefore you have a networking and communication. We're quite happy to share the details, or you can make a group post or whatever way for things that you want to know more. Also, you can maybe start asking questions right away. So maybe you can even flip the thing by saying आपको क्या questions है MOOC और OER वगैरह पे, and then maybe he can respond to those questions. And so let's do it this way. See, all of you have heard of MOOCs, all of you have heard of this thing. So ask questions, he will respond to the questions, and wherever needed, he may show something in the slide, or the slides will be best for seeing. So let's make it more interactive, engaging. Yes. क्या ख्याल है आपका? ठीक है? Yeah. Right. Okay. Good.
So I'm a software engineer. So in my profession, we need to constantly keep upgrading our skills. So in fact, I've already started using moocs now to acquire new skills. So I would like to know, like, what exactly are these workshops leading to, and do you intend to play any role in the future in helping us acquire skills?
See, he will of course involve. So there are two things in this thing. This 1 hour was to make people aware of MOOCs and elaborate a little bit on the fact that everything can be learned on MOOCs, or lots of things can be learned from MOOCs. We have planned a full workshop on learning from MOOCs, which I was hoping to run on his shoulders, but he is unlikely to be here. So we need to do, but we're creating a program on that.
Yeah.
So whether we do it now or in July or whatever, because I personally felt that one of the problems about the lack of success of MOOCs was people were not oriented towards learning from MOOCs. He will of course talk about that briefly today, but we want to do a full session where we will get people to work on a MOOC, etc., and overcome the barriers to learning from MOOC. Just like Anurag talked about barriers to speaking, etc., we wanted to create something like that. So our program is under design. He's already writing a book which is on this about learning from MOOCs, but because he'll be going away for a while, maybe that book will be ready by August or so, by which time Government of India will also announce it MOOCs and so on. So we are absolutely in agreement with this. We'll be very happy if you can tell us something as to what should such a course cover for learning from MOOCs. Because you see, what has happened is the MOOC provider just provides a MOOC, and I often say this, that is the lazy professor's method. He's already teaching something, he makes a video, puts it. But from a learner point of view, what skills are needed, what discipline is needed, what tools can be there to support him, etc., are interesting. So if you have any thoughts on that, we can go on. Any other questions? Because it would be good if we trigger the whole thing by questions. So learning outcomes are the questions that you have.
In fact, actually, that is very interesting, because when those two professors, Sebastian Thurn and Peter Norvig, initially but actually that is by their part. I can't speak now.
So that's why.
In fact, when I was in Guyana, it is in South America, and is the only Caribbean country on the landmass of South America. Rest are in the Atlantic Ocean. There, the Vice Chancellor also, during some meetings, he always used to tell that Dr. Sharma cannot speak lightly, so you have to be quiet. Anyhow, I was telling that actually the question you asked, and Professor has replied, it has a very unique emergence into that. Although it was started in 2008 by again one was the researcher and another was the professor, George Siemens and Stephen Bombs, when they had their course on connectivity and connecting knowledge with the people. There, I think there were only around 25 to 40 paying students and 2,200 non-paying students. It was kept open for that, and it was, means, in a way a good success. And then Dave Urmiye, actually they didn't coin the term MOOC. It was Dave Urmiye who suggested that, oh, wonderful, this was a massive course because more than 2000 enrollments were there. And then it was open course because anybody could enroll, and the course materials, they were openly accessible, like Pratham Books. They have released their books for children for some as OER. Anybody can take advantage of them, and it is online and it is a course. Why it is called as course? Because a course has a definite structure. There is some content. It has a start date. It has an end date, and like that. And then Sebastian Thurn, he was teaching in Stanford artificial intelligence. And one day he thought that, okay, I'm teaching 20, 25 students only in my classroom. Can I include more students to my class? And then he sent out an email to his network that I would accept 1,000 students in my course. Yeah, he was shocked when 1,60,000 the registrations they received. And that changed the situation later on. Means that led him to establish Udacity, and then very soon followed by course IRA was Daphne Kohler and Andrew Knack, they also found it. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to cover so many things. And so it started with open, means free, where you have the free access to it. But it ended up in most of them, the originals, even I think April this year, semester 3rd, he has stepped down. And what is Vikas Munjani, what is the name? He has made him as COO, that you take care of the thing, and I will go into my other visions that how to make this company more strong. And you know, then many the so-called the star professors, they have followed, and even the governments also, they are trying to establish their own, including our own government. They are trying to have this Swayam platform launched for that. So the answer to your question is that maybe not only for the particularly, actually in a way, since it started with those things, and the artificial intelligence which goes into IT or computer science department, many of these students, they simultaneously take. I think so when we were there in University of Mumbai in March, we both were there. I was talking to these students there that have you studied through MOOC? And everybody raised hands. I was surprised. Everyone. Is there any benefit? Then they said that yes, there is a facility in the university there that if they are enrolled for and they pass out, successfully clear it, then they get some certain weightage points in their course for there. So it is a way, and it provides them an opportunity where they can get something extra. In one of my presentations, I can show you. I think this is a boy from I think Odisha or somewhere, can have never access to a good quality teacher outside the region. Either the teachers are not available there or the other facilities are not there, but came across some of the moocs, and definitely most of these moocs, they were prepared. Means we consider them as the star professors per se of that range, and found them so well. There are many success stories to that. It leads to, it has a certain unique dimensions to that. That you get extra knowledge, which means as a side, maybe if suppose if someone is doing BTech, computer science, the 4-year program, the curriculum is quite exhaustive, but something, it's not an easy thing to keep the curriculum so updated immediately, regularly, and technology changes very fast. One day we have this programming language, after 2 months another thing will come, the thing will change, hardware will change, software will change, technology will change, something like that. It becomes difficult for the formal institution to keep up with that, including our own university. Means we are not able to update in most of the cases, it becomes difficult to find the authors, to get them to write the chapters, and then assembling them, making them course, printing it, distributing it, becomes a 5-year process. But here, since already something is available, and that means we call it MOOC, massive. Many people they can register. Openness is very important here. Openness as in free to access, and then online through various anyone who has access to the resources via internet, they can get advantage to that. And I think at present the situation is, if you want to find out something related to your interest area or your specialization area, definitely you will find something. And if you do not find something, I think that creates a good opportunity for you to create that, to fill that void in that area.
So is it sorry? So like first thing I would say, because I have a great inclination towards these segments of moocs and OERs and all those stuff. I like myself the entity that I'm running is an open source organization which is working to take applications. Here, the first thing is that premium mode, like we have been reading that moocs are failing, and
MOOCs
that
are
premium, and then the delivery is also.
Can you repeat, is that MOOCs are failed or something?
Yeah, we have been reading a lot.
Okay, fine. So comment on that.
So, so the second is like when they say the data which is being generated by moocs is being used in those artificial intelligence engines. So, like this, I have been reading, but I am not able to visualize what ways actually they are going to use it.
What way they are using in artificial intelligence?
Yeah, yeah. So, like if you read that Audrey's blog, she writes a lot on this.
So let me make some comments on
Yes,
this.
yes.
Let me begin from the very beginning. See, he mentioned that the very first MOOC was with 25 students in face-to-face and 2,500 outside. I'll share some more details of the story. He kind of, because of rushing, didn't do it, but that's important. See, Simon Downs and George Siemens at the University of Manitoba in Canada were very technologically oriented teachers. Most teachers aren't. So they sought permission from the university that while we are teaching, why can't we put some of these things on the web? And the course itself was of connectivism, and it's called CCK08. And they said, on the web we'll create all kinds of things. Every student can write his blog, this, that. And they created a very interesting model where they would do this. People would write, everybody had an identity, and then at the end of a certain time, they would summarize the discussion, throw it back to everybody, and so on and so forth. But the university, being a university, said you can do all that, but we can't register those students. They cannot be my students. So you can keep them in the book, but we cannot take any fee. If we can't take any fee, we cannot give them any degree. That's how this combination came of free without any degree. This is a good experiment. And when he got 2,500, he was quite amused, impressed, but they were dedicated teachers. Then came the Dusht Americans. They then realized there is big money, big scale here. So they created those. It has actually happened in Canada, Manitoba, it's quite small, snowbound place. Then when those artificial intelligence courses became very popular, meanwhile many other people were doing the same thing. Just like Salman Academy is not the first one, many people were doing. You might have heard of Michael Sandel. He had this Harvard lectures which were very good and so on. And then investors came in. And then, of course, Udacity is that, whatever. Now, I want to now comment on your thing, MOOCs being a failure. You see, MOOCs are not a failure. MOOCs are a failure if you judge them against a certain standard. Right? Now, if you judge them as an artificial standard, that dropout rate is very high. So what? People who go into MOOCs do not go to complete courses. When Indira Gandhi University was born, in our first batch of BA, BSc, BCom, only 4% people passed. Because admission was open. But passing is not easy. The exams were tough. So would you say it has failed? No. After years, there were more and more people who were doing it and percentages improved. Today, most people join a MOOC for the flavor of it. And they are expected to learn something about it in some way. So instead of going to a Wikipedia, and he emphasized the fact that this is course. Actually, suppose MOOCs didn't exist. You could do Google and Wikipedia and create a knowledge base for yourself. And this is the difference between a MOOC and Wiki, Google, YouTube learning. You can do Wiki, YouTube learning, you do more or less the same thing. Today, if you decide this is the element of a course, you do Google, Wikipedia, YouTube, you'll probably get it. But MOOC is an organized course given by a professor and structured in that way. Many people are not interested in the certificate because many of the topics were topics for professionals. They already had a degree, they had a BTech, MTech. In fact, in India, the main user were those who were already educated. And actually, many academics were quietly using MOOCs to improve their lectures. So they didn't want a degree; they just wanted to have all that thing. पहले वो किताब से copy करते थे, अब वो MOOC से पढ़ के आते हैं. So therefore, I don't think MOOCs are a failure. MOOCs are a failure if they promised, and some people did, that this will become a great tool for solving problem of uneducated people, reaching millions in India, etc., etc. The other thing we must understand if you're in the education space, education is not broadcasting. This has happened lots of times before. Those of you who remember, radio. So it began with the radio. जब radio आया तो radio से सबको गांव में खेती करता रहेगा, radio से सुनता रहेगा. फिर when TV came, it came under this thing. But all these are broadcasting. And this is what a lot of e-learning companies have got wrong. They thought sending content is education. But education begins with that broadcasting, but eventually interaction. So like even now what we are trying to say, let's do question answer, content will come or you can even search for content. So this is the big thing. So once people understand, and therefore many people have now created a model where the MOOC is there and then there are MOOC meetups. Right. So what happens, everybody doing the MOOC agrees to voluntarily come and meet up and they discuss amongst each other and are able to do this. Actually, this model is not very well known, but those of you who are in the IT know that Karol Bagh was full of people from Andhra who will on Saturday and Sunday meet and share knowledge with each other. So there, somebody is working here, somebody is working there, they were all friends. They would come and over Apna Dosa Idli, they will discuss. And they started learning, and that's how a lot of them rose in career, because by mutual thing, they knew. They also knew what are the opportunities, they knew that. So MOOCs with meetups might be the new model, that you do whatever, and this will be the model.
I agree with your point, that the failure concept has only come because the posting came first.
Correct.
That it will do this, that.
No, but that was mistaken.
Was not
see, I once met Future Learn CEO. He knows me quite well now, Simon Nelson. So I met him somewhere, and I told him, very, very interesting. I began by saying that people mistake it. He said, I have come from BBC. So you can see that they're basically broadcasters. So they don't understand that learning is about removing the cognitive difficulties of the learner. And actually, very few people realize that a teacher, a good teacher, works in 4 stages. The first stage.
One thing I want to say, when we were talking about failures, there was one more thing which was being talked about a lot. And this was like, when we are in the class, now I'm talking to you, you are telling me, I am also equally telling you, and then you can answer to quench my queries. But what happens in the MOOC system, usually it is the forum where people are talking. Now, most often, you must have taken courses, I have taken a lot, and I have find it like, the queries die in between.
The reason is,
so that is also
the reason is, I'll tell you, I have been working in this, so I have done LMS like Lotus Learning Space, I've taught on Blackboard, we taught on VizIQ, etc. See, the problem is there, and that's why I've come with this idea of teaching. When people post on a forum, they suddenly tend to become very formal and general and cannot post as you ask one-on-one, right? So the one-on-one, and my experience with on WhatsApp, they can do that. On WhatsApp, they're able to post more informally because we did a course with email, WhatsApp, and forum. And we found that WhatsApp response is fastest and best, and people are more natural. The moment you put them on a forum, they feel I am speaking towards this thing, etc. They don't want to be informal, they are not able to articulate, they are conscious of inarticulate, and therefore it drops. Also, very often, the instructor is very important. Once you have a question-driven thing, the instructor must be able to respond. So when we did our WhatsApp course, I actually told my doctor that for every question that people had asked, he would first give it, occasionally he will give an oral reply. And take the name. Anupam, you had asked this is the answer. It's a huge difference from an automated boilerplate answer that you give in FAQs. So the relationship can be even more. For you, I want to tell you that apart from these courses, now people are offering degrees. You've heard the word nano degrees being offered. But I think Georgia Tech is offering a full master's course done entirely on MOOCs and costing about $6,000, which is much less than face-to-face, but it's a proper degree from Georgia Tech. More and more people will move into that, and therefore this right. And I agree with all of you that this is the challenge which I see, and I'm trying to address. All of you, right? How can we help people learn from MOOCs better?
For such kind of paid moves, is there any eligibility criteria for joining the courses?
For most of them, it won't be there.
For $6,000.
Yeah, most likely it won't be there. The reason is the technology is such that it allows scale. And one question which I missed and Anupam had asked is that, so the data that is being used, see what is happening is one of the big challenges to quality education has been this feedback and so on, especially grading of answer books. The big debate is that computers can only grade multiple choice things. So one of the new developments is that machine intelligence is being used to grade all these answer books. And in one of the new courses on artificial intelligence, actually the teaching assistant itself is an artificial intelligence software. So the idea that you would have thought that how can this ever happen? But you already see that happening today. Today, what does Turnitin do? It figures out where you have copied from. So against rubrics, you can have things which great. People have started using it for English language teaching. And just like the driverless cars, very soon you will have things where people can grade. If you look at the errors made in the CBSE exam board or the university exam board, they're huge. They just keep it secret because they don't want people to know. But incidentally, you must have known very often people who were very poor got very good marks. People who were very good certainly got very low marks. And typically when you apply for re-evaluation, nobody wants to change because there's the reputation of the school or university at hand. And once machine learning becomes more reliable, they kind of do that. And you all heard of IBM Watson. So Watson technology is already being used for cancer diagnosis as a second opinion. And it has become so good that they will now become the first opinion. So like a junior doctor referring to a senior doctor, Watson will become the first opinion and they will still give it to a human being till it becomes reliable.
So one more question. Like now, there's a course on edX by Anand Kumar, which has been a very successful course.
Yes.
Circuits analysis.
Right. मंगोलिया के एक बच्चे ने किया था, टॉप किया था, उसको स्टैनफोर्ड में स्कॉलरशिप मिल गई थी, उसकी लाइफ बदल गई थी. That is the kind of story.
Really wonderful problem. So what we are like, I'm trying to understand. MOOC was vis-a-vis OER. Now, as you said also that MOOC is the organized thing by a particular professor.
Yeah.
So one has the structure.
See, OER is a legal right issue.
Correct.
So it's very simple. Because copyrights were a big problem, and a lot of people felt that prices of textbooks should not come as a barrier, a movement was created for OER. The two are not synonymous.
No,
I can have a MOOC which is a priced MOOC and exclusively controlled. And MOOC also was a label which informally came. Nobody first defined the MOOC and then created it. It just happened that massive open online courses they started saying, but there is no very well-defined formal taxonomy.
No, my
And
question
X MOOCs and C
I'm
MOOCs.
not comparing.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is something. So like, from matter itself, we were saying like, this is a very good course and we can definitely help it.
Yeah.
By my hardware, it will be like very good. Although we are trying to reach him and we are fortunately meeting next month here. But the point is, we see, like I was trying to understand the edX platform and how they are delivering it. I was meeting this country head of this edit. And well, the inability or inability, I would say, to make any change in this system was quite surprising for me.
Change in terms of what?
Like, any and everybody who is putting a course on online, they have to pay something. Initially they pay, and then only the system goes.
Okay.
So now that if we are suggesting that this thing can change a lot, then there are a lot of ifs and buts.
We agree, but see, each MOOCs is its own thing, right? See, so EDX is a different thing, Coursera is a different thing, Future Learn is a different thing. So that's all right. The common feature is both of them are for large scale stuff. But that's not, and they have their own feature learn partners with certain universities. But Udemy allows you to create a course and put it up there for a price and put in their template. Or you can create your own thing, which India is doing SWAM, but it is riding on edX in some sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Actually, there are various, means you don't need sophisticated tools also. Like in August 2013, 3 years ago, in fact, it was such idea. We had the first ever the Open Educational Resources MOOC, and we used those technologies. We didn't pay for anything. We used VisIQ for the live communications. We asked all the other participants. There were around 1,600 participants
From 100 countries.
Very good.
And what we asked them that, okay, there will be some content, reload it, we access it, then there will be some live sessions, and teacher at the end of this session will give you minimum as a like 2 exercises. You go through that and create your own blog, if not already. If you have, then answer to there and then tweet about it. Then we used Storyfy, because Storyfy is a platform where through the hashtag, we created a hashtag, and everything comes there so that it is accumulated and there. And then, why you were saying, so on those there, where whatever is available, there are so many apps, tools available, paid, premium, completely open source, etc. Try to make an analysis that what can serve your context and what is most easily available to the learners, and then assemble them, make a course. Means, like even if you
And
simply
then one of the beauties of this course was, he was sitting in Delhi, one person was sitting in Dehradun, I was sitting in Gurgaon. We didn't go to some common place for this. Everybody is on his own. And then we had guest faculty from Malaysia, from Germany, so Deutsch University,
Joyce is from
that's the name.
Nelly is from Canada.
From Canada. So the name is Netherlands. So we had
But
number
we
of
had
guest people.
from
जो हम यहाँ पे
Sweden.
कर रहे हैं कि 4-5 लोगों को एक ही जगह लाके कर रहे हैं, वो बिल्कुल अलग-अलग था उनके schedule से they came and they did this thing, and I met them in person only much later at some event. Otherwise, so this is the beauty of this kind of a thing. See, the MOOCs that we are talking about were basically proprietary things.
Right.
Whereas if you can create a multi-faculty, multi-this thing, and then you can assemble it together.
So is it going to become from enabler to disruptor in near future?
It has already disrupted the education.
Yeah.
Now it is evolving. So what started, and particularly if you see Sir John Daniel, who was the Vice Chancellor of UK Open University for a long time, and then came to Commonwealth of Learning, and nowadays the Canadian government, because he is settled in Canada, as the Order of OC.
Order of Canada is also
Something, it is the highest, like Bharat Ratna in Hindustan, it is something there to serve the field of open and distance learning there. He coined a term of mega open universities. The universities which have millions of students. IGNOU is one of them. Then Anadolu University of the Turkey is one of them. CCRTV University of China. China you can beat in terms of when it comes to the numbers there. All these things done by these universities were already in a way MOOC, instead of not being online at that time, but here through distance mode. But otherwise, when it comes to numbers, and when you have at least 3 lakh registrations every year for Indira Gandhi National Open University, you can see the scale of the massiveness of operations in terms of delivery of instruction. When you in the morning have your camp session, from there being up, or like through computer division like Bhupesh, etc., through Flexi Learn platform and e-Gyan course, etc., etc., being accessed by multiple people simultaneously. The evolution now is in terms of its modified forms. Like on one side we had moocs, massive open online course, but then there are certain people, including Sebastian Third, they thought that when specific requirements started coming up, so they started with spokes, small private online classes, in which a specific group is there, and you create a specialized content for them, like that. Then we had more massive open online research, so that thing was there. Then you have DOCC, distributed open courses, where the philosophy behind is that what is our purpose and what can be the success factor in a MOOC. What do we want to achieve from there? The first MOOC, in the traditional sense, we used to call them only 2 varieties of MOOCs, C MOOCs and X MOOCs. C MOOCs means based on the theory of connectivitism, where networking is more important. I learn from you, he learns from him, he learns from her, and like that. Building a community of practitioners, community of learners. And then the other MOOCs like artificial intelligence and all these Coursera, edX, and Udacity, Udemy, Khan Academy, and whatever, there are so many platforms. Basically, they started dealing with the numbers. On a large scale, how can you solve the purpose? Because sometimes you have, like I tell you, and sometimes it depends on the medium. I have a friend, he retired from UK Open University. He was called by the Brazilian government for some of the project to train the, I think it was for the farmers or something like that. And the time was very short. So they started thinking that which technology can we use. Radio, it has certain limitations to that. Television, not the signal doesn't vary because Brazil is very, I think it is 3 times bigger than India. So you can see the scale, and it is the Amazon region there. Then what? Internet, not available at all, every places. Then the question came, if television is there, we need electricity, something like that. Then they came up with a very unique solution. What they did, they had their content matter. They reached to the editor of the newspaper. The newspaper is that thing, it goes everywhere, early in the morning. So they put the money on the table of the editor, gave the content. इसका आप एक इंसर्शन बनाइए अपना न्यूज़पेपर साइज का विषय को उसको न्यूज़पेपर में डालिए जैसे you have all those unwanted pamphlets in our newspapers every day, and very quickly it reached almost all the places there. So sometimes we have to decide that based on our purpose, which technology or which technique would fit in there. And based on our experiments, then the things they evolve. But the basic premise remains there the same. That how can the things be scaled up along with, depending upon its successfulness. That sometimes it's a big challenge, it becomes, and why we means sometimes we see that, oh, 20,000 enrolled, but only 5 passed, so it is a failure. No, because we have to see that why those 20,000 got registered. I have also registered, you must have also registered, but we never registered with the purpose of completing it. Just wanted to see or just wanted to access something. And even in a means like this is a book. If this book has 25 chapters, unless it is something that you want to finish it, and I think if you must have done your BSc, MSc, graduation, post-graduation, etc., all those books, we never read all the chapters. We read only what we want, what is needed to us, either for learning purpose or what comes into the examination. That's all. Simply. The same happens with these courses also. So if I like something, say on data analytics, and if something is there, I want to go, rest I know it, I will leave it like that. So, but definitely these are, they have changed a way. E-learning was there since a very long time. Internet came to India in 1995, and since there, initially it was web. So every institution started putting their content on the web, and then expecting the students to download it. So there was no interactivity. But then came the web to where read write, you put something, you interact with it, something like that. So e-learning technologies have been there, and the skilling can be done through e-learning also. But there is a difference between those e-learning techniques and the MOOC techniques. Because through e-learning, like sir was saying, means if you don't have MOOC, but whatever is there in the MOOC, you can also Google it, because everything is there up in the web space. It is just a certain specialized person like a teacher or an institution or a faculty there. They have been so thoughtful to give a structure to that knowledge and assemble it at a place, so that otherwise if you start Googling, means you will get some results, and I think within 5 minutes we forget what we wanted to search and we are somewhere else looking at something else. So it happens. Distractions are there, and then unwanted results are also there. Means whatever I want to search is not there, like that. So here it gives us a specific direction and set how we can proceed. And particularly as means none of us has that much luxury of extra time. That's why rapid e-learning solutions they came up. Means we all are busy, we just want anything quick, like Wiki, quick. So if you can tell me, that's why we have those a thesis of 300 pages, but a summary of 5 pages, or executive summary, because you can quickly go through. If you have time, you can go through the report later on also. So these are the things they are changing the space.
So let me build on what Bhupesh said. Is this an enabling technology or is it a disruptive technology?
I was thinking third thing.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be decimator?
Decimator, disruptive more than. So, I think since you showed this interest, read something about what is called disruptive technology. The grand old man in disruptive thing is called Clayton Christensen. Clayton Christensen is a professor in Harvard University. And if you just Google to YouTube, he has very good lectures called the Clarendon Lectures, which he gave at the University of Oxford about 2 years ago. If you hear those lectures on YouTube, you will start having an understanding as to what is the simply augmenting and what is disruptive. So, for example, in cars, everything you saw so far was augmenting. They made it better, safer, braking, this, that. But the driverless car is the disruptive technology. So what Clayton Christensen says that disruptive technology never takes you head on. Disruptive technology comes by creating something which is very poor, which is not in apparent competition with you at all. So when the Toyota made their first vehicle, you look at the photograph, it used to look like a Bajaj Tempo. So the main car figure, even if you make something which is head on, they will all crush you. See, if they see you as a competitor, they will so you should not appear as a competitor. You say, go car into tempo, right? Not kuch aur hai. And even when the RCA and all these stuff were carried by Walkman, so Walkman did not appear as a music system. The music system was one, but Walkman appeared as a convenience thing. Low quality music, but convenient. And this is how the Walkman spread. E-learning and success will go the same way. E-learning, as long as it's disliked by everybody, is safe. Because the moment they get worried, they will crush it. So this is what. Then what happens? And he begins very nicely with the steel companies in the US. He talks about the major steel company and the ones who make Sharia type steel. Now these fellows said, all kasara, they were doing premium work only. And this is how the disruptive fellow gets more and more opportunities. And one day he becomes more important than the one. So I have actually seen the time when Toyota was considered Ghatia car. I used to be in Canada. The real cars were Chrysler and this thing. And Toyota, Honda, All this was in Kachra Khan, young students would buy from scholarship money. And in the big highway, they would actually even sway this thing. Gradually, Toyota have come up with Lexus, which is comparable to this thing. So, I believe that this is disruptive, but the important point, just like I said, broadcasting is not teaching. Clayton Christensen, in fact, Clayton Christensen was forced to talk about disruption in education. His colleague said, "तुम सब जगह disruption की बात करते हो, what about education?" So he wrote a book called Disrupting Class. He also wrote a book called The Innovative University. And in one sentence, which he talked about summary, he said, disruption is not the use of technology. Disruption is personalization of the learning experience. Now, you could have had, the point is we need technology because we want to scale the personalized learning experience. So actually, Benjamin Bloom, in some research in 1984, said that the best learning is personalized learning. Because of economies of scale, we put larger groups and we try to say what is the maximum group at which learning does not deteriorate. And it's a technology that allows that to happen. And this is what happens. Now, if you look at all the mobiles in your hand, no two mobiles are alike. So first, there is a broad operating system type. You have iOS or Android or Microsoft or whatever. Then what are the apps that you downloaded? Then what is the content that you downloaded in the app, after which no two phones are alike. So same thing with the personalization to learning experience. That what are you teaching? To whom are you teaching? So I recently got a WhatsApp message at 1:30 in the night. Can you please explain to me algorithmic theory in a way that I can understand? Well, this to me is the future of education. This is the future of education, that I have a very specific thing I want. I don't know how it happened, but I want, and in terms that I can understand, he says. So if to algorithmic theory I give him all Shannon's theory, this, that, whatever, it won't work. So to me, that is the disruption feature. Now imagine tomorrow, a product like Siri, to which you could ask this question, where will be the need for educators? Right? Because I can ask any question which I want and get an answer.
Real time.
And if you got Siri, you got search engine, you got that, you got machine intelligence, which is Siri, you get this thing. So ordinary teachers who are teaching to the curriculum, there is absolutely no future for them. Only exceptional people. So if you recall, higher education originally was about professors pursuing learning and then sharing that learning with others. So you went to University of Cambridge because you wanted to do something which professor there is doing. You went to Munich because you wanted to go there where the professor. This stupid thing that UGC has decided what is to be taught and I will teach. This is not higher education. This is school education.
Yeah.
Higher education was that I taught what I am deep into. Whether all that research I am doing directly myself or I am reading about it, that's a different issue. So I may be doing original research or I may be knowledgeable about it, like what Jiten was saying, knowledge management system. So I know a lot of things. But I don't say that AICD has prescribed something and therefore I will teach. That was never an educator. That will all go to a machine. So if there is a prescribed thing, information, that's it. But constructing the learning experience, and there actually the future is about the emergence of something called psychology. It is amazing that we have an education system where we don't know anything about the learners.
Yeah.
Don't know means it is not part of the process. So, if I am dealing with somebody, I must know, and in fact, I am a great personal belief that nobody should be allowed to enter a classroom, especially of young children, without knowing enough about child psychology. How much damage the teachers are doing to the children while at school is enormous.
Yes.
And there's a field called that. See, will you allow somebody to become a doctor without anatomy and physiology? नहीं उसको दवा सिखा देते हैं वो दवा देता है. No. First has to know anatomy and physiology. The educator of tomorrow needs to know psychology and IT. Only then can he engage in a learning experience. And now what will happen is, why all this big data is important? Because it tells you what your behavior is. So a small child, or even a grown-up educator, often cannot articulate what the person needs to know. The biggest problem is when you ask somebody, what's your question? He's not able to. He's like, please explain, tell me more. But that's not articulation. Technology will allow that articulation from your behavior, from the kind of questions you're doing, from the kind of questions you are raising, from the kind of stuff you are reading, it will be able to form a map of what your cognitive abilities are and then respond to that accordingly. And that's where it will become a disruptive thing. So I say that very clearly that all universities are anyway dead. They may not recognize it. See, lots of people are so much in love with people that even when the person has died, they are close to their body. As it's called, the word for this is called necrophilia, love of the dead. So our higher education is exactly like that. It is dead, but we don't realize that. So like we say, oh, we'll go to Delhi University. Getting to Delhi University is so difficult. It is so stupid. Why would you want to go to Delhi University? Why would you want to go to IIT, for example?
It's like Vedant.
Continue.
Yeah, in fact, I'm reminded of, I think this principle is talk about 70-20-10.
Yes.
Learning.
For the learning principles, it's happened the same. Means most of our learning.
Yeah, I haven't heard that 70-20-10.
Okay.
So 70% is from what I've read and understood
That's okay.
theory and knowledge.
Now it
And 20% is your working on the job training, and 10% is
What we taught in university. Actually,
So the minimal is.
the original rule was 80-20, the Pareto principle.
right, right.
Then somebody has to improve on it. So he cut down 10 here, added 10 there. And broadly, this is broadly people who deprecate traditional academic learning. They say in real life, you use only 10% of what you were, not only academic, even what training programs did. And 70-20 is what you learn on the job through colleagues and so on and so forth. You can have whatever ratios you like.
In fact, that has another interesting point regarding in terms of, say, since we are talking about moocs, and you already have experienced some of the moocs. You remember when you register for the MOOC, it asks you to respond to certain surveys, particularly like one, why did you choose this MOOC? And then it asks you what will be your purpose, what do you want to expect it from here, and etc. And the second is about demography, from where you are, and sometimes they ask you about if you are employed, what is your salary range, what is your age range, region, etc., etc. So that they want, and like Mansur was in his the first course was telling about data analytics, etc., etc. So those things they play a very significant role here, because then certain inferences you can take out from there, and then what kind of clientele is coming to your course and what they are looking for, so that means the iterations will be there. First is version 1, version 2, version 3. Like very recently I was reading about the very, I think last week only, the Moodle 3.1 has been released. And they say that the major changes about that of its being competence based, enabling it. You see, books are becoming, and here also somewhere I found that it supports competence based, the things are there. So the competence or the development of certain kind of skills, how the things they are being changed. So the learning management systems are also being tuned or modified to serve that area which needs. That's why if we go in for certain course or for a certain set of skill, how it can be developed, for that what kind of pedagogy is needed. Although like Salman, this Khan Academy, means its pedagogical platform is different, mostly video based. That's why the NPTL in India, means by IIT Madras, they got that major part done. So developing videos, expect you to see those videos, and then from there. But now we have interactive videos, because those were the plain videos. You just watch them, and sometimes you watch them for, say, if it is 8 minutes video, you just watch for 2 minutes and then leave it. But then the interactivity component has been added. Those videos are interactive nowadays. You watch them, the video will be watched, you will be asked to a question, and then through your laptop, computer, or any that input device, you talk, and then it will give you the feedback also, immediate feedback at that time. The feedback can be of two types, either simple yes, no, right, wrong, something like that, or without any explanation to that, or with direct explanation. Means if it was wrong, why it was wrong, something like that, and then the video will continue. So that to keep the learner engaged, that becomes quite important there. So the things are evolving, and it's a in a way new field.
What are the key, the one, so, so what are the key parameters on which you define a learner's profile? Is there something of that sort? I mean, I don't know if that's a good question to ask or that's the right question, but I do want to understand the answer and how to answer that question.
Learner profiles in what way?
So there is a student. Now, the student has a particular interest or does not have a certain ability, but how do you judge the student's profile or learner's profile and relevance to the
See, there, I don't have a diagram here right now, but imagine a three-dimensional cube. And there are various dimensions to a learner's profile. Now, our traditional education only looks at one element of a learner's profile, the ability for rote learning. Right? So, everything that you see, anything that you see in an exam result is really just one ability. Can you say what is in the book without looking at the book? That is all that you are testing. And of course, the people of Bihar don't quite like it, so they protest against it. But more formally now, since you raised that question, it's a very good question. So, what are the differences in learners? How do learners differ? One was the standard IQ. It was long ago, because then we were looking at a general intelligence. And general intelligence came in from a military requirement in the US, that they wanted those fellows to be able to follow simple instructions and maybe take care of simple puzzle-like situations. And Stanford Binet test was one of the most important tests, where they said 100 is average to your age, and if you're more than that, you're brighter than your age, otherwise you're less than. The idea was in military not to have people who were below a certain age. Then as creativity became more important, so they used this in the army. In Air Force, they wanted creativity, because you will land up someplace you know nothing about. So they created something called Torrance test of creativity. So these are very standard things in psychological, and then as you know, Harvard Gardner created multiple intelligences. So you can do a test and get those 7 kinds of intelligences. And that is like, logistic and visual and verbal and testing. And then of course somebody created emotional intelligence and so on. Now the first issue about learner profiling is that if you profile learners in different ways, can your intervention change with that way? Now if my intervention doesn't change, I say the same thing. It doesn't matter how detailed a profile I know. And this is no joke. So I was associated with Media Lab Asia, and we gave a contract or something about creating adaptive learning systems. And therefore, it would mean that content will flow according to the nature of the learner's style, etc., which I will elaborate a little more. And then we had the perfect answer to personalization of learning, that when you do the course, a different set of content comes, when you do a course, a different set of content comes, and as your style is assessed, content changes. Now it is very nice, get the content. So we called the professor from IIM, and we thought we will create content for marketing. Well, marketing is very important. And if we create a personalized adaptive learning content for marketing, we have done the job. Not, we have done a great thing. So we called this professor from IIM. He listened to all that we had to say. After I see, I know only one way of giving a lecture. If the student doesn't understand, it is not my problem. I can't make 8 versions of the lecture because your software wants it. So this is the practical problem. So now what is there is that I gave you all this, you can have all this data from the learner, but suppose my teaching does not depend upon the IQ of the learner. What useful is that information? You said multiple intelligence, the report is there, but I teach people only in one way. Right? So what do you do with the multiple intelligence? So this is the big challenge. The challenge is, having created that framework, how do I create the content? And the only hope is that the computer will give you different content. So now from a learning thing, there are 3 dimensions. The first is the sensory response. What kind of a thing appeals to you? Are you a visual learner? So lots of people make videos. But suppose I don't like videos. Are you an audio learner? Are you a text learner? Are you a graphics learner? ये डायग्राम में दिखा दिया, जिस माइंड मैप में दिखाया, आपको ये समझ में आता है। एक होता है you are a text type learner. Now I will share with you, with all this theory and watching lots of videos, I realize I am a text type learner. I can process text better and faster than the video. तो मैं क्या करता हूँ, TED Talks का script download कर लेता हूँ. Rather than going through the 23 minutes of the talk, I download the script and in 3 minutes I process the script. So there is no point in somebody making a very expensive video to show to me, because I am a text type learner. Maybe because I grew up that way, because I know somebody who was an audio type learner, BSc में, उसकी माँ को साइंस नहीं आती थी, वो माँ से कहता किताब पढ़ के सुनाओ और सब समझ जाएगा, किताब देख के नहीं समझ सकता। So text he can't process. The same thing with the mother is reading out to him. The mother doesn't understand, but she's just reading out because it's an audio kind of thing. So एक is sensory. Second is what is the cognitive process. So cognitive में एक apprentice type learner होता है, उसको खूब सारे एग्जाम्पल सॉल्व करके दिखाओ तब वो समझ पाता है, कोई apprentice type learner. दूसरा जो inductive type होता है वो खुद से जनरलाइज कर लेता है. So 1, 2, 3 now is understood. आपने 3 एग्जाम्पल दिए वो समझ गया. फिटनेस आपको 100 एग्जाम्पल दिए. डिडक्टिव वाला कहता टाइम क्यों वेस्ट कर रहे हो, जनरल प्रिंसिपल बताओ मैं सब उसको डिड्यूस कर लूंगा. ठीक है. नाउ द पॉइंट इज इन क्लास देयर आर ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ पीपल. सो एक कहता है यार ये 4 बार वही कहानी सुना रहे हैं, एसेंस तो इसका ये है, राइट. सो दैट इज द थिंग. देन देयर आर इncidental learners, then there are discovery learners. वो कहते हैं भाई आप मेरे को सिखाने की कोशिश मुझे दे. आज का बच्चा जो मोबाइल से खेलता है टिपिकली डिस्कवरी लर्नर. हम लोगों से नहीं होता है, अगर हम जानना चाहते इसको ऑन कैसे करेंगे, कोई छोटा बच्चा नहीं बोलता ऑन कैसे करेंगे, राइट. तो दे आर डिस्कवरी लर्नर्स. नाउ देयरफॉर दिस इज द सेकंड. थर्ड,
पर आजकल की सारी जनरेशन छोटे बच्चे 2-2 साल के भी हैं, वो भी मोबाइल को कैसे पकड़ना है वो करते हैं, या ब्रेक में सेल्फी वो कुछ इस तरह से होता है.
नहीं ये तो बातें होती हैं ना कि वो
आजकल छोटा बच्चा भी
करेक्ट
इसको सिखाया भी
नहीं सिखाना नहीं होता. तो यही तो इंटरेस्टिंग पार्ट है कि हम लोगों को सीखना पड़ता है. और मैं तो इस पर बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग काम किया. आई एम वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ दिस. मैं खूब सारी ऐप्स डाउनलोड करूँ. वो बच्चों वाली ऐप्स मेरे से नहीं चलती. तो मैंने बल्कि एजिंग कर रखा है. हमारा एक कलीग ब्रदर इन लॉ टाइप, उसको मैं देता हूँ, वो 50 साल का है, वो कुछ कर पाता है, वो 15 साल वाला दूसरे को 5 साल वाला तो बिना कुछ पूछे फटफट करता. तो ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है कि so this is the third is the social discourse. So social discourse में एक किस्म का लर्नर होता है, वो कोई बात नहीं करेगा, सवाल नहीं करेगा, चुपचाप सुनता रहेगा. he is happy to just listen to you. The other is he can't wait to speak himself. Now again this is the different variety. One is somebody who not only speak to the teacher, he wants to speak to the crowd. एक टीचर ने मुझे बताया बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग. वो क्या होता है कि अच्छे स्कूलों के अच्छे स्टूडेंट ज़्यादातर इंट्रोवर्ट होते हैं, खासकर मैथ्स और साइंस में जो अच्छे हैं. तो उसकी सजा ये करती थी, वो टीचर कहती तुम आके यहाँ पे कुछ करो, गाना गाओ या कुछ करो. तो ज़्यादातर इंट्रोवर्ट है, वो रोने लगते. टीचर यहाँ जाने को कह रही है कि गाओ तो वो करेंगे. एक उल्टा था, वो एक्सट्रोवर्ट था, वो बड़ा खुश हो गया, गाया रुके नहीं, गाना ही चले. So this again becomes a person. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Introverts learn differently, extroverts learn differently. Whatever, right? So the point is, this is a multi-dimensional thing. So on the side, it is fine. So I can create a learner profile for you. The problem is, the educator doesn't know.
Teacher is the problem.
Teacher knows only one minute. Therefore, the hope is that machines will create that content and you will get, you won't use it. गलती हमारी क्या थी, हमने वो IIM का प्रोफेसर को ढूंढा. हमारे हिसाब से हमें स्टूडेंट ढूंढना चाहिए जिसने MBA भी नहीं करा और उससे कहना चाहिए तू बता. So this is where the disruption will start happening. And the fellows won't like it because आपने उससे बनवा दिया कोर्स, वो PhD नहीं था, ये था. And I'm saying because I have gone through that. मैं जब इंदिरा गांधी यूनिवर्सिटी में था, we wanted to create a course on website design and management. अब वेबसाइट डिजाइन मैनेजमेंट उस समय जो करता था टिपिकली वो BA BSc BCom फेल लड़का होता था जिसने करना शुरू कर दिया था. एंड आई एक्चुअली हैव दिस प्रॉब्लम एंड आई एम ट्राइंग टू रिक्रूट सच पीपल टू डू दिस. एंड माय प्रो वाइस चांसलर इज टोटली अनहैप्पी. माय VC वाज वेरी सपोर्टिव. So when the file went to him कि हम तो भाई PhD से हमको लेक्चरर नहीं बनाते हैं, तो उसने PVC का तुम जरा चुप रहो, मैं डायरेक्टली आके अप्रूव किया. हमने 3-4 लड़के जो BSc पास थे उनको करा एंड वी क्रिएटेड द कोर्स. अगर हम रुके होते PhD इन कंप्यूटर साइंस आके हमारा बनाएगा वेबसाइट, कभी नहीं होता. So the disruption is also that the formal educated people have to be kept away. I was once in a meeting with the UGC recently. And I'm a great promoter of mobile phone. उसमें बड़े बुजुर्ग BHU के VC भी थे, ये भी थे, वो कैसे कि नहीं मोबाइल में तो कोई पढ़ ही नहीं सकता, मोबाइल डिवाइस पढ़े. एंड देन सडनली आज के बीजेपी के राज में आई केम अप विद एन आइडिया. ऐसे देखिए सुंदरकांड की साइज क्या होती है जो आप पढ़ते हो, छोटा होता है. जो गुटका रामायण पढ़ते हो वो छोटा है. इवन ये जो सिख लोग पढ़ते हैं मित्रों वो भी बड़ा छोटा सा होता है. मैंने कहा हम तो छोटे ही में सब पढ़ते आए थे, ये बड़ा पेज साइज तो बाद में अंग्रेज और
बुढ़ापे में है. बड़े फॉन्ट वाली रामायण भी आती है.
करेक्ट, और सब गुटके में आती है.
मोबाइल भी वैसे आते हैं.
करेक्ट, एग्जैक्टली. सो आई एम सेइंग दैट. सो द पॉइंट इज वी आर रेडी फॉर डिसरप्टिव इनोवेशन. Disruption is across elements. So the assessment has to be disruptive, the content has to be disruptive, storytelling will have to be a very essential part of it, personalization is very much, and these are unsolved problems. So मैं तुमसे जब कह रहा था कि वो एजुकेटर लोग एजुकेशन वाला इशू तो समझ ही नहीं रहे, and फिर they want to apply technology, and even if you can't make it completely unique, if at least you can make it for groups of people, the introvert versus extrovert. So I can say MBA for introvert, MBA for extroverts. They're very different, and so on.
That's a naive question मेरा है.
हाँ.
As you mentioned that Moodle thing.
हाँ.
मैं एक्चुअली समझना चाहूँगा क्योंकि मैं इस चीज़ में बड़ा दिक्कत महसूस कर रहा हूँ. Moodle versus open edX. Can you define it?
दोनों में फर्क ये है. Moodle is a product of the family we call them as learning management systems.
Okay.
Okay. और ये जो edX वगैरह हैं, they have been specially created keeping in view the wave of MOOCs.
नहीं sir, open edX.
वो उसी का ही पार्ट है. Open edX means both are
open
open
edX
source.
भी कोई प्लेटफॉर्म है ना जैसे Moodle.
In a way, no, there is how the content and the activities and then the registrations they are held based on the institutional thing, and then you have in Moodle the Moodle community out there also. In Open edX, you are provided a platform where you can then fine tune on the basis of the department of your content or how you want to make it there. In Moodle, you have like if you want to content in say topic wise, theme wise, those things are there, and then you can create it. But Open edX, you do not call it as a learning management system. So that is the difference.
So would you like to tell us something about Swayam? What kind of courses do they plan to launch? And since this is now being launched by the government of India, would it naturally have an accreditation status also?
There are, in a way, you can say that is a issue we are trying to.
See, I'll be very frank with you. Swayam will be a complete flop because it is coming out of firstly wrong conception, wrong delivery, and therefore firstly there's the wrong conception that there must be something made in India. See, if Coursera, EDX, Udemy, Visaiq, so many things are there, why would it? And it's the same. See, you are actually aroused. I'm very big critic of the government. You see, Narendra Modi has no hesitation in using Twitter. Why does not use NIC microblogging site.in and then blog on that? Right? Why doesn't he do that? So suddenly they're having a brand. We just know education platform is the least important. It is what content you have, what professor will you bring? The professor who's already, in fact, I had this story 20 years ago when I started internet-based courses at IGNOU. I went to some of my fellow IIT professors. Would you like to contribute? He said, हम लोग खुद ही चोरी करके पढ़ाते हैं, उसको इंटरनेट में डालेंगे। हम क्लास में चोरी करके स्लाइड दिखाते हैं उसकी, हम कैसे इंटरनेट में डाल देंगे? So they refuse to cooperate with that. So स्वयं में आप कहोगे क्या? पहले आपके पास हो तो दो शब्द नए कहने के लिए। Right? Now the point is कि they are not understanding this. हमारे founding vice chancellor Ram Reddy, and IGNOU was the first university to have actually a TV channel. And TV channel मिलने के पहले उनको कई साल तक वो प्राइवेट में राय देते थे, ask for a TV channel in such a way that you don't get it, because once you get it you will be exposed. मतलब हमें बड़ी अच्छी तरह से याद है कि 87 पे IGNOU बनी थी और कई साल तक कहते नहीं, हर बार मांगो we are not getting a channel, we need a channel, but ऐसे मांगो कि मिले नहीं। मिलेगी तो कंटेंट कहाँ से लाओगे? इसी टीवी चैनल को भरना आसान नहीं होता है, तो वो है। So therefore the problem with SWAYAM is it is completely misconceived. The other tragedy is it is in the hands of the IITians. IITians have no idea of education. Right? And if you look at education, IIT is the worst example to follow for education. Yes,
For giving or for receiving?
For giving of education. It's the worst example because they have nothing to do with education. And they get the brightest students. And they get students in IIT. And I tell another story, I can share with you informally. इस वाले को रिकॉर्ड मत करिएगा। See, I was once sitting with a person from IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay and myself. And I said, तुम IIT दिल्ली से ग्रेजुएट हो, तुम IIT बॉम्बे से ग्रेजुएट हो, मैं IIT कानपुर में 10 साल पढ़ाता था। कभी तुमने सुना कि कोई लड़का स्मगल करके IIT के लेक्चर में घुस आया? 15 लाख लोग IIT के एंट्रेंस एग्जाम के लिए अप्लाई करते हैं, एडमिशन 2-4 हज़ार ही को मिलता है, तो आप नेचुरली सोचोगे कि पढ़ता वो गलगोटिया में लेकिन IIT का लेक्चर सुनना चाहता है, पढ़ता तो वो MIT में IIT का। ऐसा कभी नहीं आया कि अखबार में आया और 2 लड़के पकड़े गए IIT के प्रोफेसर का लेक्चर सुनते हुए। तो इट मीन्स दैट दोज लेक्चर्स हैव नो वैल्यू। उसको एमपीटेल डालने से कुछ नहीं होगा, बिकॉज जो इतनी मुश्किल से एंट्रेंस टेस्ट में आया, बाप ने फीस दी, वो भी क्लास नहीं अटेंड करना चाहता।
तो IIT के लिए और भी ज़्यादा दिक्कत होगी सर, क्योंकि with that industry of coaching,
correct.
You are not actually sending intelligent people, you are just sending the well-trained.
But again, so that's again my problem. So if IITs cannot change their, see, मैं तो एक बार एक्चुअली कह चुका था किसी इवेंट में, यूट्यूब में डाल भी दिया उसने। मेरी वाइफ डराती रहती है किसी दिन आ जाएगी सरकार तुम्हारे पीछे। व्हाई शुड एनीबडी गो टू IIT टुडे? जो आदमी को ये नहीं पता मुझे स्टूडेंट कैसे रिक्रूट करना है,
राइट,
वहाँ क्यों जा रहे हो तुम? वो अंधे नगरी चौपट राजा की कहानी यही थी कि भाई ऐसी जगह मत जाओ जिसको कि डिस्टिंग्विश करना नहीं आता। सो नो, टेल मी एनी अदर यूनिवर्सिटी इन द वर्ल्ड व्हिच रिक्रूट्स यू ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ 1 मार्क इन 1 एग्जाम? हार्वर्ड, स्टैनफोर्ड, कोलंबिया, कोई पूरा पूछता है आपसे पर्पस, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ पर्पस, क्या करा वो करा। तो ये कॉन्सेप्ट है। एंड आई विल टेल यू वेयर दिस थिंग हैपेंस। सी, आई कम फ्रॉम दिस IIT बैकग्राउंड, आई हैड अ ग्रेट प्रेजुडिस इन फेवर ऑफ IIT। मैं एक दिन एक DRDO में इंटरव्यू कर रहा था, एक लड़का था IIT पास, कुछ जवाब नहीं दे पा रहा था, तो आई वॉज वेरी अनहैप्पी एंड डिसअपॉइंटेड। सी, हम तो IGNOU का कोई ऐसा स्टूडेंट मिल जाए तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, बट IIT वाले। तो किसी मेरे कलीग ने कहा, जो कहते थे भाई उस मे के उस इम्तहान में उसने बहुत अच्छा किया, व्हाट डज इट मीन? उसके बाद पढ़ना छोड़ दे, हार्डवर्क छोड़ दे, कुछ भी करते, so why are you assuming that will last? The same thing, I have a question, if you have no, and even to me, if you ask me, having got admitted into IIT, every year you should be in a threat of being thrown out.
right.
Correct? So, and the other thing, 15 लाख लोग 2 लाख रुपए साल देने को तैयार है IIT में, that's the fees today. और 1 लाख कोचिंग के लिए देते हैं। जो इन्होंने दिखाया था मेरे भाई ने, ई-कॉमर्स इंडस्ट्री 50,000 करोड़, IIT कोचिंग भी उतनी है। So now tell me an institute which says कि भाई साहब देखिए ऐसा है ना, ये 15 लाख इंटू 2 लाख 300 करोड़ तो मैं नहीं लूँगा, ये मुझे नहीं चाहिए पैसे, मैं तो 5,000 बच्चों को पढ़ा के और यही ऐसे इसमें क्या सीखने जा रहा हूँ? जो आदमी को पैसे की कदर नहीं है, उससे मैं टेक्नोलॉजी सीखने जा रहा हूँ। जो स्केल नहीं कर सकता अपना ऑपरेशन, वो मेरे को टेक्नोलॉजी सिखाएगा। सो आज की तारीख में, व्हाई डजंट ही डू मशीन इंटेलिजेंस, ऑटोमेटेड ग्रेडिंग? व्हाई डजंट ही डू व्हाटएवर? ही वोंट डू दैट। सो दैट्स
ये वाली बात मैं मानता हूँ। अभी मैं ट्रिपल आईटी को देखता हूँ, यहाँ पर जो दिल्ली वाला है, सर उन्होंने कोर्स इतना बेहतर डिजाइन किया है अपना, कंपेयर बीइंग आईटी इंस्टीट्यूट, उनका जो कोर्स है, मतलब आई एम लिटरली, मतलब मैं बहुत ही खुश हुआ उनका सिस्टम देख के, कंपेयरिंग टू दिस IIT, मैंने मैं एक स्टोरी सुनाता हूँ। जब मेरे को इंजीनियरिंग खत्म करके 2-3 साल हुए थे, तो मेरे को पैसे नहीं पूरे मिल रहे थे, तो आई स्टार्टेड इवनिंग जीमैट ट्रेनिंग विद जम्बूरी। यहाँ पे बड़ी नोन सा है, तो
नहीं मैं जानता हूँ जम्बूरी वाली को, वो एक महिला थी उसकी प्रमोटर।
आई शुड नॉट रिमेंबर।
हाँ
करेक्ट। सो मैं ऐसे ही किसी उसमें प्रोफेशनल ट्यूटोरियल्स में गया था, कुछ ऐसे मीट टाइप्स की। तो वहां पर देखा, मैं एक बंदे से मिला, उसको बहुत प्रॉब्लम था, काफी एजेड बंदा था, और वो कहता है यार पता है मैं आई एम इंदौर से उसी बैच से पास आउट हूँ जिससे इंदिरा मूवी पास हुई। मैंने कहा साहब आप क्या कर रहे हो? मैं यहाँ प्रोफेशनल ट्यूटोरियल में पढ़ाता हूँ। तो जो आपने कहा था ना कि वो तो ब्राइट स्टूडेंट ले, जो ब्राइट था वो तो चला गया आगे अपने, बाकी एजुकेशन में कुछ नहीं किया, वो एक यहाँ पर भी है।
नहीं वो तो है ही। दूसरा एजुकेशन से कोरिलेशन, जितन भी कह रहा था मार्क्स का कोरिलेशन तो नहीं है कोरिलेशन। हम क्यों मान रहे हैं? सी आप लोगों ने अगर वो पढ़ी होगी फूल्ड बाय रैंडमनेस ये वो, सी अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स इन दिस वर्ल्ड वी कोरिलेट अननेसेसरली, देयर इज नो दिस। आई सेड इन वन ऑफ माय टॉक रिसेंटली, ये सब आप लोग पेरेंट्स हैं, मतलब मार्क्स का क्या करो? हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर या तो जाली डिग्री वाला है या थर्ड डिवीजन वाला है। भाई दो ही तो चॉइस है ना। एक लोग कहते हैं जाली डिग्री है, दूसरा कहता है नहीं असली डिग्री है, पर है तो थर्ड डिवीजन ना असली भी। और एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर की कोई डिग्री नहीं है। तो इस देश में तुम लोग क्यों परेशान हो? और यूएस में डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प आने वाला है। सो वी ब्रेक फॉर टी,
Donald Trump with a new burger.